In this installment, Natalie Vukovich is being interviewed by Dylan Armstrong on the topic of subleasing.
Natalie, subleasing should be a pretty straightforward type of deal, but is it?
Well, Dylan, you'd think so, because the head lease, or master lease as they call it in the States, is set. So the sublease can't really depart from it. But people get creative when subleasing. They might be planning for a different use of the space, a shorter or longer term, or for different rents. And they often overlook the head lease framework when negotiating a sublease.
So a sublease can have a different use clause, rent, or a shorter or a longer term?
Well, no to use and longer term, but yes to different rent and shorter term. The thing is, the head lease may prohibit what the head tenant and subtenant are proposing. Conflicts between head lease and sublease must be sorted out.
Does the head landlord care if the subtenant pays more or less rent than the head tenant?
Oh, yes, it does. The head landlord might need to collect rent from the subtenant if the head tenant fails. The head landlord needs to know how much the subtenant is obliged to pay. Also, most head landlords don't think that their tenants should be profiting on the landlord's real estate, so they don't like to see that. They also don't like learning that the space has been sublet for peanuts, because that drives down market rates in the building generally. The head landlord is very interested in knowing what the rate is in any sublease situation.
Who does the subtenant mostly interact with? Its head tenant or the head landlord?
This can vary. A subtenant might be the face of the occupying entity, or it may lease only a part of the head leased space. It's not uncommon for the subtenant to pay the rent directly to the head landlord. And at the site level, subtenants often interact with the head landlord for physical plant needs.
Is it risky for the head landlord to interact directly with the subtenant?
Yes and no. Unless there's a signed document in place clarifying the subtenant's status and rights, the landlord might find itself in an unexpected relationship with the subtenant. One of the reasons documentation is so important is to clarify the relationship.
What other elements of subleasing can get tricky?
Almost every single term of the head lease needs to be considered for its applicability to the subtenant. For example, who will place the insurance? What if there's a right to be named on a sign? Whose name goes on the sign? Who can or must seek the landlord's approval of any desired alterations, both the tenant and the subtenant, or just one? There's much more to a sublease than just saying something as simple as all the same terms and conditions apply.
So you're saying that there's no such thing as a simple sublease?
Pretty much. It's a three-way relationship. As the saying goes, two's company, three's a crowd.
That was Natalie Vukovich in conversation with Dylan Armstrong on the topic of subleasing. If you would like to learn more, contact Natalie on our website, dv-law.com.
This audio recording was a general discussion and should not be relied upon as legal advice.